Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the 81st Xamarin Android tutorial. So if you're coming from the previous video, which I hope you are, if you haven't, please do so, watch it and return, as this is a continuation of the previous video. So in that one, we set up basically what is going to be the meat of the main activity, which is all of these, which is going to wrap all of this stuff right here, a view pager, which has the tabs, the floating action button, the toolbar, and then we went ahead and we got the navigation view to overlay, or we're setting that up actually as we speak. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. We're going to be setting up the header, which if you remember, this is the header that we actually append to the. So what's cool about this is we have the navigation view and we give it another layout that Android will then inflate for us, and then also the drawer view. So let's go ahead and get this set up, guys. We basically have this part set up, but we don't have the actual content inside the drawer view set up. We have this stuff referenced, but if we built it right now, it would break because we don't actually have anything like this that exists yet. So let's go ahead and fix that now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add a new item, not an existing item, but a new item. And it's going to be an XML file, and it's going to be called, looks like we called it nav header here. So we want to make sure that that actually is called exactly that, because that is what Android is going to look for. So it's going to be the nav header, and this is going to be the header of this, which consists of an image and then a username, which is actually a text field that says username for it. So what we want to do here is we want to come into our nav header, and we're going to make the actual root view of this layout a frame layout. And let's go ahead and do that, and let's do this. Okay, so we want to set the theme of it. I'm sorry, we want to set the height of it. So we're actually going to give it a fixed height, which is going to be 192 dp. And that's going to give it this height that you saw. I'll rerun it again, that you saw right here. That's going to give it that height. And then we're going to want to give it a theme. We'll give it a direct theme for this frame layout, and it's going to be a Android built-in theme. And this will help keep things like the design and the look of it consistent throughout our app. And that should be it for now. And then inside of it was going to be an image view. So if you saw right here, it was an image view with a text view overlaid in the middle on the bottom of it. All right, so pretty simple. Let's go ahead and get that going now. So we'll give it an ID just in case you want to reference it inside of our code. And a width, which is going to be match parent, and a height, which is also going to be match parent. So we wanted to stretch the entire width and height of its parent, which is matching the parent of and this thing's parent is going to be this thing. So it's going to match the width of this, which is 325. So this in turn is also going to be 325. And then this is going to be, the height is going to match parent right here. And what that is going to be doing is wrapping as far as it can, and basically it's going to be using that 192 dp. So come into here, and what we want to do here inside of the image view next is give it a source. So we're just going to have a static image. We're not going to do anything really fancy with this, but what we'll do here is we'll give it an image of one of our images that we have to still bring in. We have not yet done that, so if you don't have it yet, don't worry. And we'll give it a scale type, which is a common attribute to use for an image view, and we'll center crop it to make sure it looks nice and to scale. And then that text view that you guys saw in the bottom middle, we'll go ahead and make that right now. And remember that a frame layout doesn't really stack, or doesn't at all stack its children or align them like a linear layout or a relative layout will do. What it does instead is it overlays its children And this is nice when you, of course, you want to get that effect. And then you can position them very easily using the gravity attribute of the child. So we'll go ahead and do that now. We'll just hard set something here in the text just so we can see it. And we'll give it a text appearance. This is really too necessary. But like I said, it keeps the look of things uniform. Body 1. So that's going to be built in. We don't have to do anything with that. All we need to do is reference it, and Android will take care of that for us. And let's set the text color to black. And last, we will position it, and that's what's using that layout gravity. And we will do the bottom, center. Close it out. Okay. So this is what's really neat, guys. This is where a lot of the magic happens. We can now take this whole thing, and we can then append it in or have Android inflate it for us on the actual navigation view's header, which is right here. So now that's there. That's good to go. We've created a layout for it. Now we need to create a menu layout inside our for the drawer. Remember, the drawer is all this stuff right here. So we can create a menu layout, and it'll inflate all of this stuff, this content for us. So let's go ahead and do that now. And in order to keep things organized, let's go ahead and create a new folder. Add new folder, call it menu. And inside that menu folder, we need to create an item called, you guessed it, drawer view underscore, don't forget that, drawer underscore view. All right, so this is going to be pretty, we've done menu items before, and it's like just like a menu item for an action bar. So because we've done it before, and it's not really anything new, I'm going to copy and paste this in. But I will explain it, but just to help save some time. Actually, I don't want to get rid of that first part. So this is going to be and let me pull this up so it makes a little more sense. We have our groups, and we have a group here called the checkable behavioral single, which means only one of them can be selected at once. So we want to make sure that that is established. And we have our items. So we have nav home, and our title is home. Here's our icon, the icon for home, and then item, messages, and the icon for it, messages, the icon for it, nav, friends. So this is, I mean, you kind of getting the idea, right? So this is very simple the way it's set up. We just have a group that has 4 items, this right here, and it'll just go ahead and inflate this for us very nicely, as you can see. And then when we want to make another group or anything else, we just have another item. So in here we have an item that basically has, that's titled as sub items, and that's where this comes from. It draws this line for us, this segregation line for us automatically, knowing that this is another group. And what it'll do is, what we can have is another menu inside of it, so we can actually establish a menu inside of it and have items inside of the sub item, if that makes sense to you guys. So, and essentially we can nest in items inside of this sub item, which is exactly what we're doing here. And this is how we lay this out. This is sub item 1, sub item 2, and we will lay them out the same way that any other item would be, like this. And if we want to give it an ID, we could, to be able to do, distinguishedly be able to select or to know what is happening. So we can be able to have quick events, of course, in the on options item selected, if you guys know what I'm talking about, and that will be able to check for the ID, and then we'll be able to do the appropriate action for it. So this is all what this is doing, and I hope you can see that inside of this big menu right here, we have another menu which is inside of the sub items. Okay, so that's all that's doing right here, and as you can see, it works very nicely. We will have to establish some code for it, but at this point it is it's going to be set up. Won't have any layout behavior or anything like that, or the layout will be working, but not the clickable behavior. So, but this is all set up, and now the drawer underscore view exists, so it will no longer complain with that, which is exactly what we want. And I feel like now is the point that we bring in a lot of our other resources. And as you can see here, we had a resource called Drawable, and what we did was we had IC underscore done. We'll need a few other ones as well. We use a lot of them here in the drawer view. We have these events. So if we went ahead and rebuilt it right now, it wouldn't build because we would get a whole bunch of errors, just because we don't have any of those resources available to us right now. So I know you guys probably believe me, but I did it anyway. So I went ahead and rebuilt it, and as you can see, it's saying that there's no resource found. There's even a dimension resource that we established that we have not actually created. So all of this stuff needs to be done at some point, and I feel like we're getting to a point to where we need to bring in our resources. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to bring in resources that we've already used. This is the stuff that we've already used. Dimension, so we'll have to make a dimension XML file. We'll make a menu that will have all of our menu, and we'll make a drawable that'll have all of our drawables. So that's going to be all in the example project. This will be all here for you if you're following along with that. So that'll all be included, of course. So don't worry about that. What I'm going to do right now is all these resources right here, I'm going to bring them all in. So I'm going to go ahead and bring that stuff in, and that way we can get continued on with the rest of the project. All right, guys, so as you can see, I have added the resources for this. So if I come into here, I can see all of my pictures, my JPEGs for the cheeses, along with the corresponding the icons that are going to be in the menu, the navigation view. And these are all, of course, for each density screen. So I have a whole bunch of them for each density, and they just repeat themselves. So if you are adding these manually, go ahead and do so now, or if you've used the sample project, then you should be good to go. So one thing I did do wrong that I wanted to point out is I put the menu folder outside of the resources folder. That's obviously a big no-no. Shouldn't do that, and that is why my project is not compiling. But before I fix that, while I was importing the resources, I noticed that, but I didn't want to fix it yet until I actually showed you guys. So that's my bad. Sorry about that, guys. Let me go ahead and put that inside of, so I just dragged it and put it inside of my resources folder. I have my drawer view, and let's make sure that it opens up correctly. Okay, so it should be good. It should be registered that it moved. If I go ahead and rebuild it, make sure that this is actually open and that it knows about it, because it's still saying that it's not knowing about it, and sometimes it doesn't. If something's not exactly right, it won't build correctly, and then it thinks that it doesn't exist. So let me go ahead and figure out that problem. All right, so I went ahead and fixed the problem. What I did, guys, is it just wasn't recognizing the drawer underscore view XML file, so I was getting a unsuccessful build. So, and I knew everything was right on this, so I wasn't sure what was really going on. So what I did, guys, I just went ahead and I deleted my drawer view file and simply just added a new one, renamed it the same thing. Not renamed it, but named it the same name, and added the code back in, and then that somehow registered something within Visual Studio. So it's just one of those things, I get some comments on that too as well. Like I get comments that say like that that they're following my code exactly, and it's still not compiling right. And this is a perfect example of what happened is, like, I know I'm following some other code that I have that I literally pasted inside of it that I know works, and for some reason it just wasn't picking it up that everything was good. And I literally just deleted it and recreated it, and it worked. Changed nothing else. So if you guys are running into the problem with this or any other sort of like kind of familiar problem, simply just sometimes try deleting it, recreating it, closing Visual Studio out, coming back in. If you know your code is right and you're following along with my code, which hopefully is right, that might be like a last resort kind of thing. And that's what I did, and I went ahead and fixed it. So whenever there's a problem, try to fix it on the spot, and that way I can kind of help you guys if you ever run into the same problem you guys will have to fix. All right, so we got a successful build. All the resources that we need so far are now inside of the project. So we're gonna have to actually add more values, more strings, probably some colors, and we'll have to add some themes and everything like that. So let's go ahead and start doing that now. So, and I wanted to do this, I could have imported this stuff while I had the video on pause, but what I want to do is I want to be able to kind of show you guys and walk you through this. step by step, just as much as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make a normal XML file, and I'm going to call it colors.xml. And then I am going to create another item, XML item, and I am going to call it styles.xml. And this is what's going to hold our styles, which we are going to apply to our theme. And then, but before we do that, let me go ahead and add another folder in our resources folder. And this has to be named specifically this, values hyphen v21, not 31, v21. And this will be values. These resources will be used for versions 21 and higher of Android, which is Lollipop and higher. So let's go ahead and make a XML file within that new folder, and we will call it styles.xml. And it has to be named the same exact thing as this right here, because this will just help it keep it uniform. But what it's going to be doing is, if it's 21 or higher, it's going to use this styles XML stuff inside of here. And if it's not, it's going to use, if it's 20 or lower, it's going to use this one. And then since there is no colors, dimensions, or strings, it's always going to use these no matter what version it is. But if we make another version, Android's automatically going to take care of that for us. So this is a way to segregate some of our UI's design based on the operating system version. So with that being said, let's go ahead and add in our colors. And we only have one resource color. It's just this one right here. Okay. And let's go ahead and add in our, I believe I have our dimensions already, because that was something that we needed for it to build. But here is our dimensions. So take a peek at this. These are dimensions that we're going to be using throughout the other XML files. So these are our global resources for this. If you guys need to pause the video, it's always a great thing about video, right? You can just pause it and shut me up for a second and do what you guys need to do. I just want to make sure that I'm going through everything. And this is our strings, which is going to also open up this file. This is our default stuff that it had. We will go ahead and paste it, and we will keep this stuff, but we're also going to have this big string resource that we're going to use outside of this, and we're going to have these other string resources as well that we will use. Okay, so just trying to make sure that we have all of our resources, our global resources, so that when we're using them, we don't have to keep coming back and coming back and coming back. We kind of let's just try to make sure that we have all of our stuff set up. All right, and we've done this before with our toolbar, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, but let me just close everything out. Let's open up our styles and our values folder, our original values folder, and here is going to be our style. So remember that I mentioned color primary dark, and color accent. And what this does, guys, if we specify this, which we are in our own base theme, so we have a theme that we're using that inherits from our no action bar theme, which is a built-in Android theme. So we inherit from this, and then we just start overriding stuff that we want to tailor it to our own look. And what it will do, guys, is it'll take this and it'll say, okay, you want this and you want this, and this color primary dark corresponds to this color primary right here, and this accent color will be the accent color here. And notice that we didn't, and that it's sort of that pinkish color. Well, notice that in our layout that we made in the previous video, notice that we didn't give the floating action button this thing, which is this right here. Notice that we didn't give it a color. But how did it become that color? Well, it became that color because of the style that we are going to make right here, and this is the accent color. So Android says, okay, color accent is this color, and what it does is it goes throughout and it finds all of the widgets that inherit the color accent color, which floating action button is one of them, and applies that color implicitly, so we don't have to write the code for it. It already does that. And it's the same thing goes for this, the color primary dark, the toolbar, the not the toolbar, but the app bar, and even the highlight colors. Notice how that's our color primary. We didn't do any of this, guys. So it's doing this for us based on the fact that we specified our color primary to be that purple color. All right. And there's tons of other widgets. There's tons of other stuff that use the theme that we are giving it right now, and the primary dark, and the color accent colors that we're giving it. There's tons of other things that this applies to. And this is cool because it comes like a one-stop shop to change your themes, your coloring at least. You can literally just come into here and change these 3 values and get a totally different look throughout your whole app as long as you use it appropriately, and Android will take care of the rest for us. Now this is our card content, and we're just going to be able to, we'll apply this theme directly to our cards and our recycler view that we'll use here in the next few videos. And then what we do is we have our design demo, and then we're inheriting from our design demo, and then we'll see why we're doing this here in a second. And that will bring me to our next point, which will, let's open up the styles and this and then the V21 folder. And the same thing applies for this. Like I said before, the styles will be used if it's 21 or over, if it's a lollipop or over. The design demo is going to be using this status bar color along with making the status translucent, which is right here. And then when you hover over, notice you get that translucent color. That's what this is happening in Lollipop, because this is a Lollipop OS emulator. And I provided another design demo too, which basically just gives you some other colors too, and gives you some other things to work with. So we're only going to be using one of them, of course, but you'll be able to kind of switch between the two. You can change it easily inside of your activity or wherever you want to apply your theme, and then you can be able to see where the differences lie. So I kind of wanted to give you guys some more options there, but this is hopefully that's a good breakdown of the resource stuff that we're using. And for now, I believe that is all that we need as far as the resource stuff goes. So let's go ahead and rebuild this and make sure that we are in good shape. It's always a good idea to kind of just build stuff as you go. That way, if you don't change too much, something breaks, which inevitably, something might, something will. Just the fact of developing. But that way you can kind of combat that a little bit and be able to fix it quickly. All right, so before we conclude this video, let's go ahead and make sure that we have a skeleton app that we can then start building off of. So this is what we've been going towards the last couple videos, and we should have something pretty close to it to start adding onto it, like such as the view pager and its tabs and the fragments, which holds a lot of the good stuff. Okay, so it looks like we're having a little bit of a inflation error, and sometimes this can be a good thing. So I mean, you probably have gotten this. I know I have many times. So let's go ahead and figure this out together. So it's error inflating class coordinator layout, and my first thought would be, because we haven't applied the theme that we just created. So we created that theme inside of our style, right here. So we have this nice theme that inherits from here. And then one thing about the coordinator layout, it wants to inherit from a theme.appcompat or one of its children, which this applies. And then of course its children is inheriting for this. So we now made another child with our overwritten color primary stuff. So let's go ahead and apply this theme now. So that's my first thought. And whenever you guys see that with the coordinator layout, just think about the theme that you're using. So we can do that on the activity level, or we can do it on the manifest level, but I'm going to do it on a per activity basis. So I'm going to do that here with Xamarin, and we can specify that here inside of an attribute of the for an activity. So if I do that there, theme.design demo, and that's this right here. That's this guy, which inherits again from our already created one. And this is if you guys want to add more styles to it or whatever, but this is ultimately the one that we're using. And let's go ahead and run it now that we have that theme. And that error for the coordinator layout should go away at that point. Okay, so it looks like we figured out the the coordinator layout. Now it's giving us a problem with navigation view, and it looks like I made a typo. So I did not spell Android correctly in that. So that's another way to, could happen to anyone, and happens to me all the time. So let's go back and let's actually correct that typo, which is hidden here, just in case you guys follow along and made that same error just because you're following me. Sorry about that, but that should fix our error right there. don't want to don't want to point any fingers, but it's, you know, it doesn't help to not have some IntelliSense in Xamarin Visual Studio. So it's really based off of just, you know, you're not left with much, pretty much just a notepad um, sometimes. So, you know, that makes things difficult, and it makes it more inevitable that that will happen. So let's hope that that's it. Okay, so it looks like we have our skeleton. So it looks like we have, okay, we have our app bar, right? And we have, I'm sorry, we have our toolbar. And we have, we don't have any tabs yet because of the fact that we, of course, haven't added anything to our view pager, which in turn is what actually creates the tabs for us. But we do have our action button, and we don't have any kind of hamburger yet on our toolbar to actually bring out the menu, because that is something that we have to program. But if we go right to the edge and we pull it out, there is our navigation view. So there is our navigation view, and we can get to it just from pulling out and getting that slide feature that Android has. And we can see that it actually did inflate correctly. It looks good. But notice that when we click on it, nothing happens, because that is also something that we have to program. So I'm sorry to probably sound like a broken record here. We're going to have to program. So this kind of gives you a lot of ways to see that what the XML is doing and what we still need to program. So the XML is inflating all of our stuff. It's bringing in the navigation view, and it actually laid it out pretty nicely. And it's also going to be doing some stuff when there's actually a scrollable thing here, because then this is going to collapse as well. But right now, of course, there's nothing to scroll, so it's not going to collapse like it does in the other video. But hopefully you can kind of see it starting to come together, guys. And in the next video, we're really going to start to see a lot more come together as we create the fragments and thus the tabs that have a lot of the content inside of this example app. All right. So that is going to be what, of course, is ahead in the next video. And so stay tuned.